I'm going to be telling you guys my honest opinion on bulking and why I don't recommend it for most people in their lifting journey. Bulking, in my opinion, is only necessary if you're either extremely skinny or extremely shredded. For the most part, I think that bulking is this thing where people believe that it's the only way to build muscle, and I've found that to not be the truth in my case. Like, I've built as much muscle just maintaining, like in terms of my calories, just being at a maintenance phase, than I have when I was eating a shit ton of food and just getting way too fat in the process. Sure, I might have gained a bit of muscle on top of what I would have gained at maintenance, but that muscle just ended up being lost when I cut anyways. So the whole point of bulking should be to get out of that shredded physique state where you're like starving and you can't put on any muscle. You need to be around, I would say, 10 to 15% body fat to be in an optimal muscle building state. So, in my opinion, bulking is only necessary for two different types of people. The people that are really underweight and low body fat percentage really could use bulking to put on a lot of muscle really quickly, especially if they have the genetics that don't really allow them to put on a lot of body fat. They're going to put on so much muscle in a short amount of time that it'll be a crazy transformation for them. And I've seen this with some of my friends. They make so much gains really quick because they just have those genetics that all that extra food is going straight to their muscle and their strength. And the second type of person is the person that's competing in bodybuilding, where they have to go through cycles in their prep to get really lean and then bulk back up and get their size and get their strength back as quickly as possible. Those are the only two scenarios that I would recommend bulking in, because most people that are getting into fitness are either skinny fat or fat. And you can see this in the stats throughout the world, the obesity crisis. Most people are not underweight, they're overweight. So for those people, I would almost always recommend either starting at maintenance or going straight into a deficit if you're extremely overweight. There is no benefit if you're skinny fat or already fat to go into a surplus, because even if you're thinking you want to put on the mass first and then cut it off after, you're going to be seeing so much more results if you just go into a deficit. You already have the body fat on you. It's going to be excess energy that your body's going to be using and burning to build the muscle anyways. So you might as well just be in a deficit and see the progress in the mirror and get more confident in how you look. You don't even realize how much that affects you when you are overweight, and there's just this negative feedback loop when you look in the mirror that you don't see the progress when you're going to the gym. I think a lot of people need to see the progress quick in the beginning to actually stick with the training. And this is like the missing puzzle piece for a lot of people. You need to be in a deficit if possible. And I know it's difficult to go straight into one, but a lot of the people that are fatter or even skinny fat, just if they just changed their food choices, even if they weren't going straight into a deficit, those food choice changes would already put them lower calorie than they were eating before. Just being a little bit more strict in their diet, not snacking all the time, not eating chips and cookies, whatever it is, that's already going to put you pretty much in a deficit, and you're going to be losing weight and putting on muscle. Because beginners put on muscle so quickly, you can be in a deficit and make a crazy transformation. You're going to be putting a shit ton of muscle on, you're going to be losing a shit ton of body fat, and you're already going to look pretty aesthetic by the end of that transformation. Even in like 3 to 6 months, you're going to be looking like a completely different person, honestly. Another reason why I don't like bulking is because every time I've tried to bulk, and I know a lot of other people are like this too, every time I tried to bulk, I would start off pretty good, but I would always end up falling off the rails because I would use my bulking phase as an excuse to go out and eat junk food or have that extra unhealthy snack or just cheat on my meals all the time. And it would get to a point where it was so far gone, I would just be eating whatever I want. And at that point, it's not even a bulk. I'm just off my diet. That's what it's called. I'm just not on track to be gaining weight and gaining muscle. For that reason, or for those reasons, I don't recommend bulking for the majority of people. And like I said, if you're severely underweight and you really have low body fat percentage, obviously a bulk is going to help you out because you're going to be putting on a shit ton of muscle, and a little bit of body fat is never a bad thing as long as you don't go way past like 13, 14, 15%. Like going past 15%, I really don't see a benefit in that. And you're just going to be looking worse than you need to for building muscle. And guys, if you need help with your diet, I made you guys a free cutting nutrition guide. It's the first link in the description. It's really going to help you guys out with your food choices, your macros, and your calorie deficit. So check it out if you're interested. Now, one of the main reasons I absolutely despise bulking is because I really care about what I look like, especially in my face. And I know I'm not alone with this. When you bulk, it really causes you to lose your attractiveness. So when I bulk personally, when I start eating more carbs, my face fills out a lot quicker than everything else. I'll have full abs, but my face and my cheeks will get really chubby. And it's because I'm retaining so much more water, and I'm increasing my body fat as well. So all that bloating that you get from the increased carbs, the sodium, whatever it is that you're eating, it really just kills your attraction. And it's not like the end all be all if that's not your goal, but I think that being an attractive person is really important for your social life, even if you're not trying to date. Just being attractive has so many benefits. Everyone's heard of pretty privilege, and it's a very real thing in my opinion. I noticed the difference in how people treat me when I'm bulking versus when I'm lean, and I'd much prefer being lean in terms of my social life. I just have way more fun. People treat me better. I treat people better because I just reciprocate that energy. And all in all, I just have way more fun in my life when I'm lean. So I really rarely recommend, especially people that are already struggling with self-esteem, do not bulk, because you're just going to make it worse for yourself. And the cutting process after that is going to be even harder to get to that lean physique when you want to. So yeah, that's another reason to avoid it if you're in a higher body fat percentage. Just go into a deficit. You're going to look better. You're going to feel better. You're going to avoid all those negative side effects. Not to mention the attractiveness and look side of things. Being bulky and being heavier is also going to take a toll on your health. You risk having more heart issues in the future. There are so many studies saying that obesity and being overweight is really bad for you, and it's going to reduce your lifespan like crazy. So you might as well just completely avoid all of that and stick to a healthy body fat percentage. 10 to 15% is perfect as a guy, and you really don't need to be as heavy as you think to look big and to put on as much muscle as you want. The last thing I want to touch on is that whenever I'm bulking and eating a lot of food, obviously with that comes more carbs, and in general, when I'm eating more carbs, I get so much more brain fog throughout the day and when I'm trying to get work done. How I combat this in a cut is I fast in the morning until around noon, and in the morning I can get so much more work done. I notice that shift in my brain when I start eating carbs in the day, that I have such a hard time concentrating compared to when I'm fasted. And I've seen a lot of people say the same thing online. When you're eating more carbs, you're going to get more brain fog, and it's going to be harder for you to focus on your work. And this is just another reason why I dislike bulking, is because they really push the idea of eating more carbs so it fills out your muscle, gives you more energy in the gym. But I don't think it outweighs the side effects of not being able to get your work done if you want to be productive, and really being able to think clearly, and just like even on your goals in life, like just think clearly. That's so important if you're really into self-improvement, and it's really going to hold you back if you can't get those clear thought processes in your head. So these are my honest thoughts on bulking and why I don't usually recommend it for most people. Whenever I bulked in the past, it really held me back in the long term. It gave me a lot of negative thoughts in my head. It really fucked with my mental health. And when I was at my heaviest, I really didn't even feel like I looked like I went to the gym anymore. And it really made me lose motivation. Another thing is when I cut for the first time, my life completely changed. Like, a complete 180. When I was bulked up, I was super self-conscious. I hated the way I looked. I didn't really have many friends. And when I did my first cut, it was like the world was accepting me for the first time. It was like people just treated me so much differently, and it was crazy. It was really eye-opening. And yeah, I think that you should be presenting yourself to the world as best as you can. And unless you're a bodybuilder or if you're really underweight, you should not be bulking. Just stick to maintenance if you want to, or go into a deficit if you want to get a bit leaner. And yeah, that's all I have to say.